Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now here's something that I have never done before. It's lemon meringue pie. Didn't even know that I liked it until a few years ago because it was never something that I'd pick. But when you actually try it, it's really lovely because it's got the sweetness of the condensed milk. It's lemony, it's got the digestive biscuits, so it tastes a bit like a cheesecake. It's got the meringue. Again, I didn't really used to bother with meringue, but now I really like that too. So this one's a request. But because I've never made it before, I didn't want to opt for something too challenging. Number one, because it might not work. And secondly, because at the moment it's getting harder to get some of the bits and pieces for baking. At the moment in the supermarkets, we can't get flour anywhere. I couldn't get caster sugar today, but I did have some. And condensed milk, which you'll see in this cup here, oh, that's just nowhere to be found, which is why I had to make it. So I'm very proud of myself that I found a recipe that I've linked you to. But for this one, it's a Mary Berry Cheats one, so it's a very simple lemon meringue pie because you're not using pastry, you're almost using the cheesecake biscuit base. So our oven goes on at 190 degrees Celsius. We need a cake tin, a round tin or a dish. I've got this new one that I'm going to try. I've had it for a while but never had to use it yet. So hopefully that will work as I want it, but you could use a pie dish. I'm going to use a second bowl shortly for when I'm whisking up the egg whites because you can't afford to have any residue of anything in there or they might not actually work. You won't get your meringue. I've got a bowl so I can do my biscuit base and also so that I can do the filling. And because I'm going to crush up the biscuits, I need the rolling pin. So it's 175 grams of digestive biscuits, 75 grams of butter, which I'm going to melt in the microwave, 3 eggs. Now it's 400 mils, a tin basically of condensed milk, nowhere to be found. You can actually make your own, so I made this yesterday, and it is milk and some sugar, and you are boiling it down, and it takes quite a while to boil down, but you do get there in the end. Excellent recipe, really easy video that I will link you to, and the woman that does it is excellent, so I will be watching more of her stuff. 2 lemons, and we're going to use the juice and the rind, and then it's, I believe, 175 grams of sugar. Oh, it's because I've got flour on the brain because I couldn't get any, and it's caster sugar. So 175 grams of caster sugar. And first of all, we will start with the biscuit base. So Mary's broken it up into 3 easy steps, and the first one is to crush the digestives. So you can do it in a blender, you can do it in a bag, but I tend to find that whenever you do it in a bag it bursts and it can be quite messy. You could definitely do it in the blender, but the other thing that many chefs have said over the years when I'm watching the programmes is that you don't want it to be powdery, you want it to have texture in it. So if you've got the patience, this is probably the best way. It also means that you can give yourself more of a crunch. I think the issue, especially with the blender, is that you might just end up with a biscuit powder and then that's not actually going to be a very substantial base. We've melted the butter, and I just did that in the microwave, 10 seconds, that tends to be it, but you can just keep watching it. Obviously if you don't have the microwave or if you don't want to use it, then just melt it on a low heat on the hob. And then the theory is again that when you mix the butter in with the biscuits, when that sets in the base, that'll harden and then you'll have your lovely biscuity base. A bit of a mess there. You'll notice in the Mary Berry recipe, in addition to the biscuits, there's also some sugar. I've skipped that because I don't always think you need that extra sugar. I mean the sugar in every stage of this recipe. So if you don't really need to add sugar to the base, there's plenty in the biscuits. So I'm skipping that. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to affect the chemistry. And then remember when we're putting everything into the base, again it's another chefy tip that I've heard them say a lot. You don't press it down really hard, you loosely press it, because if you press it down really hard, when it sets, that base is going to be really hard to break through. That's when you see people and they're trying to take their spoon through their cake and it's pinging across the table, and that's because they compacted the base down way too tightly. So you push it down but you leave it just loosely settled. So I'll finish this, won't take me long, and I'll show you the next step. Bashed up the digestives. Again, I like a bit of texture in it, so it doesn't need to be completely even. And then melted the butter. So it goes in. And this is going to give the base its ability to set. Put that there. Let's just give it a little mix in. It's really hard not to want to just start spooning this into your mouth. But just think about the greater good of the cake that you're making. But who else would leave a little bit deliberately in the bowl because you just want to eat it? It's really hard not to. So you're just coating all of that. I know that some people would use different biscuits in the same way that when you're doing the cheesecake. Lemon meringue pie with ginger nuts, I've seen that before. Don't know if every biscuit would work, but once you've mastered it, you can start experimenting with it. Right, so you can see that there. So now we'll put it in here. And then you're just patting it out, but again, you're not really squeezing it down. And the suggestion was if you can try and raise it up the sides slightly, but it'll all just depend on the size of your tin too, because I think this is not the biggest, but it's definitely bigger than some of the cake tins that I've got. So you do have to press it down. If it's too loose, then you won't form a good base. But none of this pressing it down until it's packed solid, that's not going to work. So that's it, coming together. Now, as far as I saw, it didn't say you had to chill the base, and I think that's because it's going into the oven anyway, and everything's going to cook and set when it's in there. So I'm quite happy with that. So again, I'm not being too firm with it so that you can easily cut through it when it's ready. Right, so we're on to the middle. Right, so we're going to do the middle now. So I'll get the condensed milk, it's just been in the fridge, and we also need the 2 lemons. So if you watched the last video I did with the lemon drizzle cake, you're going to use the rind. You make sure they're unwaxed lemons because we're going to use the rind, but we're not going to go down past the white part because that's the pith and that's bitter. Then either before or after that, a couple of seconds warmed up either in the microwave or if you've got a low oven. When you warm them up, you get more juice out of them. That's going in too. The egg yolks are going into the middle and the egg whites are going into the meringue, so we have to separate those as well. So I am now going to get the rind and the juice ready for these, and then I'm going to separate the eggs, and then we'll see it all start to come together. So condensed milk's in here. As I was saying to you, I had to make it myself, so I've linked the video because it was really useful. I don't know if everyone's the same, but you can't find it anywhere here. The baking aisle of all the supermarkets is just basically empty. It's funny because it's just got the things that nobody wants, like tinned prunes. There was some bread flour, but that was it. As I said, I couldn't even get caster sugar. But remember, if you've got granulated sugar, then you can make it into caster sugar by putting it into the blender and just making it finer. So that's an option. And I believe, I've not done it myself, but especially with the Vitamix, you can then continue on and turn it into powdered sugar, which would be your icing sugar. So all is not lost if you can get your hands on the standard granulated sugar. Not sure about the brown sugar though, but I wasn't looking for that today. So we're just first of all getting the rind in here, and then I'll give these lemons a few seconds in the microwave and we'll get the juice in. So I'll put the juice in next and then bring you back so we can get our eggs in. Right, so our 3 eggs, and we're going to separate the whites for the meringue into the clear dish, and then the yolks are going into the filling. So I need to be quite firm here. And then, being careful, get my yolk in here, and you can work between the two. Lovely. And then I'll bring this over a little bit further so there's no mess. Yolk goes in. It is messy though, so I'll do the other two and then I'll come back to you. Right, we've got our yolks in here alongside the condensed milk, the lemon juice and the lemon rind, and then shortly after we are going to use these egg whites to make our meringue. So just give this a little whisk. I'm using a fork, but as you know, you can use your, well, basically anything you like. You can use a wooden spoon, you can use an actual whisk. And then we're giving that a good mix round. And then that is going to be the filling. Now bear in mind that I've never made this before, so I don't know exactly what we're looking for, but I have been told in the recipe that it will thicken when it stands, and then it'll be loose when you start mixing it again. So let's hope that this is how it should be. There's that extra level of jeopardy because I had to make my own condensed milk, but it did look and taste how it should do, and it felt like the right consistency, so I hope it is. Right, so smells good too. Part 2, this will go into your tin. Right, so that is the second part done, and now we just move on to the meringue. Right, now we're on to whisking the meringue, but what I wanted to show you was, it just took me a minute or two to set up the whisk. Look at that. So you know when it said it will look firm and then when you move it, it'll be liquid? That looks firm to me. So considering this is completely new, I've got my fingers crossed it looks like it's going to be okay. So I'll move this to the side for the moment. Now, whenever you're doing meringue, it can be longer than you think to get it up to the fluffy clouds. I'm not going to put it over my head to make sure that it's completely whipped. But you can't have any residue of any oil, anything greasy, anything basically dirty within the dish. So everything's got to be really clean. So I'm now going to whisk this until we get it up to the meringue stage before we put the sugar in. So everything's ready. So we're not even a minute, but can you see that's it? It's got the little peaks now. So at this stage, I'm going to start adding in the sugar. It says a teaspoon at a time. I'll do a little bit more than that, but then you put it on at high speed. So I'll do a little bit and then we'll skip through for you. So a little bit of sugar. And then on to high speed. Now just right, so that's us. We've got our topping. Turn this off. Move this away. So now the recommendation is that we dollop it on. That's how it's looking. So we dollop it on and then we very gently cover it after we've placed all the dollops on. So I'm hoping this works, but again, never tried it before. But it certainly looks like it should. I hope you're crossing everything with me. I mean, it's Mary Berry, if you can't trust Mary. Certainly feels nice and thick. What I'm going to do at some point as well is I've got a recipe with chickpeas, and I'm going to attempt the meringues with the chickpea water. And we'll see how that goes, because I know that it can be very effective, but I also know it can be quite temperamental. So let's get as much as we can out of here. Okay, so now let's just whiz it around. I better get rid of that so it doesn't burn. Let's whiz this around and create our topping. And this is now going to go into the oven. Now it says for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I will report back to you and we'll see how we got on. Right, here we are, 20 minutes in the oven. And as you can see, it's cooked, it's got the brown top. There are some little cracks in it, but I'm not fussed about that at all because it's my first attempt at it, and the main thing was that it actually works. So it's got to have half an hour now to cool down. And then you'll see how it looks when I manage to take it out of the tin. Right, here it is. So it had its 20 minutes in the oven. It then rested, it cooled down for half an hour. I took a bit out because I didn't want that horrible jeopardy moment when you're like, it didn't work. I would say for a first attempt, I'm really happy with that. I took a bit out. As you can see, the front fell off and it fell straight into my mouth, so that's not a problem. It's got that crumb, which I actually think is really nice instead of the usual pastry, which I also love. The middle is nice and soft. I would guess as it cools, it's still warm, but not hot. So the meringue's crispy on the top and really marshmallowy in the middle, but I would guess that will change as it cools down. And the actual middle, the lemony part, is really nice too. It's subtle and sweet and it's not too strong. So overall, I am claiming that as a success. It might not look like the best you've ever seen, but wow, it tastes nice. So thank you, Mary Berry. Thank you again, I've forgotten the name, but the channel that I got the condensed milk recipe from, I've linked that. And yes, I am claiming that as a success. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. Let me know if you've got any recommendations for bake-alongs, and I will see you again soon.